How's it going, everyone? We are pretty early on into Secluded Springs meta, but it seems pretty figured out already. It is very clear, like, what is happening, what decks are super powerful, what decks are running the meta. Not much else can compete outside of those decks, so we're gonna go over them. It's gonna be a serious meta video, no troll decks, nothing like that, but I do have one secret deck that I've been using to pretty consistently counter these top meta decks that I'll show you later on in the video, so make sure you stay around for that. So let's just jump right into it. Number one deck right now is Suicune EX Greninja. What I have here is a more teched out list for mirrors, and I'll go over what cards are like tech cards, how you can play it just more consistently. This deck we are seeing dominate right now, to be honest. It takes pretty much no bad matchups outside of Darktina. Everything else is pretty favored. This deck is just disgusting. It is like Sylveon Greninja, but somehow even better. So, Suicune's going to draw you infinite cards. Greninja's going to allow you to be comboed with Cyrus, and you can go ahead and pick up knockouts on whatever opponent's Pokemon they have. This right here is what I am playing against. No joke, probably 60 to 70% of the time in my Master Ball grind. It is like all I play against are some form of variant of Suicune, mostly Suicune Greninja. I've run into some weird ones like Suicune with a Palkia, which is not that weird, but I've run into Suicune with Gyarados, not like Gyarados EX, the Gyarados that discards water Pokemon from the bench and hits for a lot of damage doing so. So I've seen some weird Suicune variants, but this one is by far the best one. So here are your tech cards, right? Repel, Guzma. These two cards, as well as like double Irida, these are kind of your flex cards. A more consistent build would be get rid of the Repel, get rid of the Guzma, play double Irida, double Cyrus, double Giratina, or you could play one Irida, one Cyrus, one Leaf. I guess to sum it up best, the cards to consider for this deck are Oricorio, Giratina, Leaf, Red / Guzma are kind of considerations. Double Cyrus, those sort of things. There's a lot of different ways to play it. Some will give you an edge in some matchup, others will give you an edge in the other. The mirrors for this deck are fairly fun, but there are times where you literally, you look at your starting Pokemon and whether or not you're going first or second, and you know you've lost. Like, there's almost no way for you to grind back. I did have one really intense game with someone where I started Suicune and a Froakie. They started Froakie. They immediately evolved into Greninja, benched nothing else, and it was a really weird game. I ended up coming out ahead, but it was my Suicune hitting his Greninja for 20 damage with my own Greninja on the bench. Eventually knocked out that Greninja with my Greninja after he knocked out my Suicune, and then my Greninja took down his Suicune because he couldn't bench enough Pokemon to do enough meaningful damage. It was the weirdest game I've ever played, but it was quite interesting. So sometimes the mirror matches are like very, very fun, very incredible. Other times you just lose immediately, and that's why I've sort of teched mine out a little bit, like the Repel. If they start Suicune and you don't, or even both of you start Suicune, you can use the Repel to push that Suicune out of the active spot, force them to either waste an attachment or demand them to find a Leaf if they are playing it. You can get just a little bit more tempo in doing so. I do miss having double Cyrus. You guys know me. Anytime I play something with Greninja, I love having double Cyrus in the list. But for the mirror match, like I gotta cut something to try to make the mirror match better, as good as possible for me, because I am hitting it so often. This is probably the second best deck right now. It's kind of tied with the best deck. I'll just spoil that here. That's Giratina Darkrai. I don't play Giratina Darkrai. I have not played Giratina Darkrai since the first format it came out. So I'm like no expert on it. I can't tell you like, oh, you want to play this supporter, this supporter, this supporter. If you're looking for a Giratina Darkrai list, this is unfortunately not the place. I just don't like the deck. I don't play it, so I have zero experience with it. I only have experience playing against it. But it's kind of, Giratina Darkrai and then 18 of your favorite or 16 of your favorite trainers. That's really all there is to it. You go look at some other list and see which ones perform well, and then maybe go off that, and then based on your play, what would you rather have what trainers would you like in your deck, and that's kind of it. It's not rocket science building Giratina Darkrai, so make sure you have the stuff that you need, like Cyrus, Sabrina, Red, Pokemon Center Lady, 2 potions, the Rocky helmets, and 1 giant cape, you know, stuff like that, and you'll be fine. But yeah, this deck is disgusting. It takes good matchups against literally everything besides Giratina Darkrai, and even then, like, I feel like an answer to Giratina Darkrai would probably be playing double Giratina, so that way you can more often guarantee you're starting Giratina. Because if you're able to go power up your own Giratina, use Greninja plus Cyrus to get their Giratina, like, you're going to win that game. It is just about, can you knock out that Giratina before it's a threat? Because if Giratina comes up and attacks their Giratina and you put a cape on it, like, the Darkrai literally can't knock you out. There's no way for them to reach for that damage in 1 turn. So you just win that way by having a Giratina attack twice, Greninja buffing its damage, and that'll do it for you. So that's a way to tech for that matchup as well. I don't really know what else you could do outside of that. But yeah, deck is gross. If you want to play it, you're going to run into a lot of mirrors, so I would heavily recommend teching for the mirror, because that is pretty much all you're going to hit. So any 1 card difference that's going to put you ahead over a long period of time, I would say go for it. It's the deck to look out for on ranked right now, even though it not necessarily... It might not be the best, but it could be the best. I'm not entirely sure. Let's get on to the other decks. So here's our 3rd most popular, probably our 3rd best deck in the format right now, and that's Espeon Sylveon. The deck hasn't gone anywhere. Nothing has really changed. Like, all the matchups are the same as last format. You're still not going to be good into Giratina Darkrai, but you're going to be good into most of the other field. There's no Charizard around right now, so that's a nice boost for it. And Suicune Greninja, from what I'm seeing, depending on the build, is a fine matchup. If they're running double Giratina, it gets really tough, because, like, that's how you lose, is their Giratina. If you're a Suicune Greninja player and you're just playing 1 Giratina, it gets really hard, because they are going to outdraw you with Sylveon as opposed to your Suicune. They are going to be out healing you with their Espeon, and you're not really going to be able to reach for the KOs against them as easily as they can against you. Like, you really need the Giratina in order to do huge damage against the Espeon, Sylveon, whatever. Just take those 1-hit knockouts paired with Greninja to do the 20 damage ping, and then that. So depending on the build, it can go either way for if Suicune Greninja is going to be a good matchup for you. I probably over-exaggerated in the beginning saying that 60% is Suicune. I would say, realistically, probably 70% of games are either Darktina, Suicune, or Espeon. Suicune takes up most of that, but there's a fair amount of Darktina, and then a little bit less Espeon Sylveon. But, like, those are the 3 decks you play against consistently. And then outside of that, like, the rest of the meta is legit just some sort of Pichu acceleration thing. So, like, Pichu, Arceus, Pichu, Darkrai. Not a lot of Silvally Pichu anymore that I'm running into in Master Ball. That's sort of it. Like, this meta is not very diverse so far. It is really centered around these 3 decks. That's kind of it, which is a little bit boring. And if you're like me, you're banging your head against the wall trying to find a way to deal with these decks, because you don't want to be involved in the, well, if I play Darktina, you know, I win against Espeon Sylveon, and I win against Suicune, and then I'm just playing Darktina. Like, or if I play Suicune, then I gotta deal with the mirror, and then I lose to Darktina. Sometimes I can beat them. And then Espeon Sylveon isn't great. Like, it's not the most fun in the world to insert yourself into that. I like to find something outside that has decent matchups against the 3 main decks, and then maybe I lose to rogue stuff, but who really cares? So Espeon Sylveon, I don't really feel like I need to spend too much time on it. The deck's not changed much. It didn't gain any new tools from the new set, and it's, like, pretty much unchanged from where it was in the format. Just depending on the Suicune variant, that's going to dictate whether or not the matchup is going to go in your favor or not. So, yeah, that's Espeon Sylveon. Still very, very popular. Still good. That's it. So here's that other deck I'm talking about, Arceus Pichu. This was a thing last format, and it's now seeing an uptick in play, I want to say. I don't even necessarily think it's all that amazing right now. Oricorio feels fairly weak. Like, it's going to do good in a Darktina. It's going to give Darktina a real problem because, like, they just don't have a way to deal with the Oricorio. And you're pretty fast with the Pichu acceleration and the Zeraoras and the elemental switches, all that stuff. Suicune Greninja, as much as you would love it to be like a favored matchup, it's just kind of even. Like, it's not great for you. It's really tough. Like, if they get the... You need quite a bit to sort of excel forward in that matchup. Oricorio doesn't do all that much. It's pretty good early game if they started Suicune and they're not building up a Greninja on the bench. Like, you know that the Oricorio is just kind of going to get to put a few attacks down, and that'll be that. You'll be able to build up damage on the Suicune. I have had games where my opponent has popped off and gone their second turn, double elemental switch to Arceus plus Giovanni to knock out my Suicune with a full bench. It was like the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. And that's kind of how the deck feels, is like high roll central. You try to high roll, and you have the Oricorio to, like, buy you some time at points. But, again, Oricorio is, like, not the strongest thing in the world right now. Pretty much most of the main decks have a way to deal with it. And even Darktina, like, yeah, the Oricorio is going to slow him down, but what do you do when the Giratina comes out with a cape on it? You know, like, yeah, that's going to be tough, because they're just going to one-shot the Arceus, and then they just have to pick up one more KO, and they can spend all the time in the world pinging damage onto those Oricorios, healing themselves, and you won't really be doing a whole lot to them. Oricorio is like an answer to Darktina, but without heals, it becomes pretty tough. What else? Like, what else does this deck? I mean, there's not very many matchups to talk about, right? Favored into Darktina. Like I said, the Oricorio can do enough to slow it down, and then having an Arceus in the back will do it. Espeon Sylveon, you're slightly favored, and Suicune Greninja, depending on the variant, once again, is going to dictate whether or not you're favored into that matchup when they have double Darkrai. Double Giratina. The Giratinas can just power themselves up, and they'll one-shot the Arceus, and they will Cyrus around your Oricorios, and then they'll finish off the Oricorio with a Greninja. Like, it's just sort of what it is. Yeah, it's a fun deck. I personally don't love it. It's not my favorite. It wasn't my favorite last format. I have an Arceus deck I'm about to show you that I like a little bit more. So this is not that secret deck I was talking about, but this is the, this is my brain off, just try to get some quick wins. So it is 4 baby Pokemon, 2 Kamala to deal with any Oricorio variants. And honestly, like, no joke, you might be able to say at this point that Oricorio is such a non-factor. Like, yes, it's around, but I'm not playing against too many. You may be able to just go full brain off, take out 2 Kamalas, and just hope you don't hit an Oricorio. And if you do, just concede or continuously Darkrai ping. Maybe take out 2 Kamalas for a Sabrina, or maybe just double Sabrina. I don't know. But the point of this deck is to start a baby Pokemon. That's why you play 4 of them. Put energy on Arceus, and then Arceus is powered up. You have double red, double leaf to make sure you're into one of those baby Pokemon. And with Darkrai and Arceus plus a full bench, you're hitting for 170 in a turn. Once, like, you can just kind of set up checkmate. You get an Arceus with 3 energy on it and a Darkrai on the bench. You can just do 170 and then 150 to knock out 2 Pokemon, and you've probably won the game. It's really, really ridiculous. And again, if Oricorio isn't that common, you could take out the Kamalas, and now your odds of doing that are that much better. Because all this deck wants to do is turn 1, find a baby Pokemon, find an Arceus. That's it. That's all you're trying to do. The Kamalas kind of get in the way, but because of the Oricorio of last format, you kind of had to play it. I would, like, maybe you could go down to 1 Kamala, but then it becomes really hard to find it because this is a 10 basic deck. If you're looking for your 1 out of 9 basic, it's pretty tricky. So it might just be play 2 Kamala or play no Kamala. Depending on, again, what you're running into. I hit so much Suicune Greninja that it might just be worth it to do that and then add, like, a Sabrina and maybe a Repel. And then, like, just hope that that's enough. Like, maybe you can even get around the Oricorios and not really worry about it. Yeah, it's a very fun deck. It's just turn your brain off. Like, there's not much thinking. The only thing you have to consider is, like, what does your bench look like? Try not to bench lock yourself, and be careful when you're benching something, because there are positions in the game where they might be able to, like, Greninja ping a Darkrai and Cyrus it up, and it has no energy on it, and you have no leaf in your hand, and then that Darkrai is stuck, and that will end up losing you the game for some reason. That's kind of it. That's all you really got to consider with the deck. It's very, very fun, very simple. I enjoy playing it and picking up some free points. Yeah, I'm really heavily considering going to a no Kamala build and just heavy Gust in here as well, because not a whole lot of Oricorio, and you might be able to just out-aggressive them anyways. You're demanding them to find 2 Oricorio very, very quickly. Otherwise, a Sabrina plus a Repel or double Sabrina will just be able to, you know, work around that Oricorio, and you'll be fine. Quick intermission, because I forgot to plug myself. Make sure you guys subscribe. You've made it this far in the video, so I know you at least have the attention span to watch a full video, so maybe also subscribe and like the video. I'd really appreciate it. All right, let's keep going. Here we are at the secret deck. If you thought it'd be interesting and cool and innovative, you're dead wrong. It is double Guzzlord and 1 Celesteela. So, Celesteela is going to allow you to move around the Guzzlords. It's also going to be your Oricorio answer. What does this deck try to do? Well, Suicune can't do anything without you putting bench Pokemon in play. Otherwise, its damage is capped out at 60. Guzzlord has 170 HP. Couple that with Double Potion, Double Pokemon Center Lady, it is so hard for them to knock out a Guzzlord. We are going to be using Grindcore. We have the Will in here to guarantee that we set back our opponent an attachment. And then from there, you know, you're just healing, and then you'll be at the point where you're swinging for 120. You really don't want to bench anything. Like, ideally against Suicune, you want to start Guzzlord, and that's it. You only bench your other Guzzlord or your Celesteela if you are at that point where it's like, all right, this Suicune's going to knock me out no matter what, or maybe I'm about to knock out this Suicune. I'm not worried about, like, how much bench or how much damage a Suicune can put out because there's none built up on the board ready to attack. Those are when you start benching other Pokemon. Other than that, you just leave the Guzzlord alone, and he can kind of solo the Suicune deck. Because it's pretty common that they will, oh yeah, I'm Suicune, I'm gonna start the Suicune, of course, as I do, and then they see you start with a Guzzlord, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna be doing no damage. I can either just not build this thing up and work on my bench, or, you know, it's tough, especially if they don't play a Leaf. If they don't play a Leaf, then it's really weird for them. Rocky Helmet just to boost the damage. I think it's pretty necessary. Between Grindcores, like Grindcore on its own, they can Irida the damage off, or Giant Cape, whatever, and just kind of get you out of range of that Tyrannical Hole taking the knockout when you finally do have 4 energy on it. The Rocky Helmet kind of shores up that, like, oh, no matter what, once my Guzzlord has 4 energy on it, I'm going to knock out a Suicune, and things are going to be fine. The deck also has a great time against Espeon Sylveon. That is a matchup where obviously you can throw down your Pokemon as soon as you get them. Doesn't really matter all that much. But Espeon Sylveon does not love this deck. Grindcore setting back an attachment is really tough for them. And then you being able to one-shot with, even if they have a Giant Cape, if they attack it or something with Rocky Helmet, they're down to 140. Tyrannical Hole, boom, it's done. You have the healing to keep yourself out of 2-shot range, even if they have damage modifiers. So it's fairly good into that. And then Darktina Darkrai is, like, not the best, to be honest. I mean, you kind of got to hope that Grindcore really goes your way. It's not easy for them to get through 2 Guzzlord, but, like, it's doable. If I had to say a way to try to make that matchup a little bit better, it would be finding room for a Guzma for sure. Because Guzma is going to take off the Rocky Helmet, and then maybe once that Giratina comes up and starts attacking, it will not be able to reach for that one shot on Guzzlord. But yeah, you're just going to hope that Grindcore sets them back enough, and you can pick up points like that, and you're going to look to make it a double Guzzlord game, because one Guzzlord is probably going to get knocked out. It is a really, really fun deck. Against Oricorio stuff, it gets a little bit scary for sure. you know, Celesteela, it does its best against Oricorio. You kind of want to try to combo it with the Will to guarantee you flip that heads and do that 100 damage to knock out the Oricorio. But yeah, I've been using this deck on ladder because I was playing earlier today, and dude, I just couldn't take the Suicune Greninja mirror anymore, to be honest. I got like 6 back-to-back government mandated losses because I went first starting Froakie. That was just kind of it. So I want to get out of the Suicune Greninja rat race, and this deck has been a ton of fun to do it. Like, it's so stupid. I love Grindcore, taking all the energy off the Suicunes. It's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So if you're like me and you're struggling to find something to play right now, definitely go for this. It is a great time, and yeah, have fun with the Suicunes. Have fun with the Suicune. Just don't overfill your bench. As soon as you start benching too many Pokemon, dude, it's over for you. Over for you. They're going to do too much damage. Keep that Guzzlord alone in the active spot. Potion him. Pokemon Center Lady him. You'll be fine.